Willie Nelson is here. He has written over 2,000 songs, released over 200 albums, and performs over 200 nights a year. He has won 5 Grammys and countless country music awards. Last year, in the nation's capital, he received the Kennedy Center Honors. His latest CD is Night and Day. It marks his first ever instrumental album. I am pleased to have Willie Nelson back at this table. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Charlie. Good to
see you. I see the bus parked outside.
We got the bus. Got to have the bus.
Got to have the bus.
Yeah.
Now, you will generally, as a rule, after a performance, still, you head for the next destination.
Yeah. We used to stay in town, you know.
And stay in town.
And stay in town, and stay in town. And by
stay up.
By leaving time, I couldn't find anybody. And a lot of times I couldn't find me. So.
Yeah, right. Where's my driver?
Yeah.
I don't even remember who my driver was.
Yeah. What am I driving? So we started leaving after the show. It was a lot better.
So you can get on the bus, sort of chill out, and then by the time go to bed, and by the time you land, by the time you pull in, you're home. Wherever you're going
home
next.
is that day.
Yeah. This album, instrumental, Willie Nelson, Night and Day. You picked these songs out yourself?
Right.
Tell me what went into it.
Through the years, I've written a few instrumental songs, but we've never put out an instrumental album. Right. And my sister plays great piano, and she should have had an album out years ago. But I thought it would be good if the band put out an instrumental album, and I'm a big Django Reinhardt fan, so I
as good a guitarist as they've been around.
The greatest that I ever heard.
The greatest you ever heard?
Yeah, the greatest guitar player I ever heard was Django Reinhardt. Grady Martin is in there, and Chet Atkins and all the great guitar player. But Django, to me, is the guy that laid down a lot of the stuff that all of us try to do.
Yeah. What made him good? I mean, what is it that makes a good guitarist?
It's hard to say. When he was 16 years old, he played banjo, violin, and guitar, and then he was in a fire, and it burned his left hand so bad that he only had these 2 fingers to play with. Yeah. And he did more with those 2 fingers than any of us could ever do. I laughed a lot about it and said, well, I've got too many fingers. I can't play that way.
If I only had 2 fingers, I could be as good as Django.
Yeah.
You love playing, though, too. I mean, the guitar for you is what? It's connected to you up there, and it gives you the...
Well, yeah, I've always had a guitar in my hand, and I really do feel a little bit uncomfortable when I try to sing and there's no guitar to play. So, yeah, I'm sort of a guitar man.
You mentioned your sister,
right?
Piano player. Was it your grandparents that sort of got you going in music?
Yeah, we were raised by our grandparents from the time I was 6 months old, and they were both musicians, voice teachers, and they just naturally we picked up a lot of stuff. My sister learned to play piano and organ, and I'd sit on the stool and learn what I could from her.
Yeah, look at these songs. Night and Day, All the Things You Are, Sweet Georgia Brown, Gypsy, Honeysuckle Rose, Over the Waves, September in the Rain. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But I mean, have you been keeping these in your head? Things that, I ought to put an album together one day of instrumentals, and I know what I like.
When I realized that we could do an instrumental album, that our sound was kind of gelling pretty good, and then we started in sound checks every day rehearsing instrumentals. And we worked up all these songs at sound checks in the last year. And then when we went in the studio, it was pretty easy. We got Johnny Gimble to come in, and of course he needs no preparation. He just plays.
He's ready.
So we knew what we were going to do, and we got John and we did the album, and it turned out pretty good. Those are all songs in there that I grew up playing.
Yeah. Why now? I mean, why not some time ago? Because you didn't know that you could carry it?
Well,
I mean, not musically, but just that your sound was right for an instrumental?
By the time that I got to a point where I could record kind of what I wanted to, instrumentals weren't doing that great, and I was barely getting my vocals played on the radio station, and even that sometimes didn't happen, so I didn't really think it was time for an instrumental. But I came up with my own label here a few years ago, and it just...
Who's it, Navarre?
Like,
What's the label?
It's Pernalis.
Pernalis, I'm looking at something else.
And Navarre is the folks who are distributing it for us.
Right. So Pernalis is the label.
Pernalis is the label.
Down by the Pernalis River.
That's it. Yeah.
Is your ranch on the Pernalis?
Right.
You got about 700 acres or so down
Right,
there?
yeah.
Do you get home much?
I just left there I was there a couple of weeks, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you do when you hang out at home? I mean, I know you got your musical stuff
Well,
there,
this
but
time, while I was home, I played a little golf, and we had our 4th of July.
you played a lot of golf, my friend. Every morning you were out there.
Yeah, I tried to.
You have the funniest swing because you stand, you and I, you played and I was there. We had fun out in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But you stand way behind the ball. And it's kind of, where'd you get that swing?
I have no idea.
You know, it just works, doesn't it? 'Cause you're shooting in about high 80s, are you?
Well, sometimes, yeah.
Low 80s?
Yeah. Well, it depends on a good day. A real good day, I can get low 80s.
Yeah, but low 80s on a good day and a course that fits your game.
With a few strolls here and there. We have what we call the Perdinale stroll. You know.
What's that?
Well, if you happen to be behind this tree,
You stroll out,
You
right?
stroll it a little bit.
Now, you got a course down there? Where do you play?
Yeah, I have a 9-hole course there in Austin.
Yeah.
That we play.
That you own, don't
Yeah.
you? Yeah. You didn't lose that in the whole business, or did somebody
yes,
buy
I
that
did, yeah.
and they sold it back to you? A friend.
Yeah, it changed hands about three times before I could get it back.
Now, how far is it from the ranch to Austin?
We're about 30 minutes.
Oh, so you're there in a moment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we're just west of Austin.
On the same broadcast with you tonight is Lyle Lovett. He sometimes performs with you.
Yeah, we played a lot of shows together. In fact, he was on the Kennedy Center Award thing that we did. He
Right, I
came
remember
up and
that.
did
I was
that.
down there. Yeah. And I mean, what do you think of him as a musician? What's his?
He's an incredible musician, songwriter, singer, entertainer. That's about all you can say about
He's
him.
got a sound.
Yeah.
What is it you think when you think about if you were 42 and you were not a roaring success at 42?
I was roaring, but
They didn't know you were really roaring.
I was a successful roarer at that time.
You were roaring. You were very good at roaring, weren't you? And then it just happened. Was it because the idea of your sound somehow people developed an ear for it, came to it, or was it the songs themselves? Was it the songwriting, the lyrics?
I really got started as a writer
Yeah.
in Nashville first before I did as a singer. My songs, well, I had songs like Hello Walls
Right.
and Funny How Time Slips Away and Crazy and Nightlife that other people recorded.
In fact, several of those were one year, as I remember.
The first year I was in Nashville, I got all those songs cut.
Yeah. Who did Walls?
Farron Young did Hello Walls, and Ray Price did Nightlife, and Billy Walker did Funny How Time Slips Away, and Patsy Cline did Crazy, and Roy Orbison did Pretty Paper.
That was all in about 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, then you must have had everybody beating a door down for you.
For songs. You know, Farron told me, he said, why don't you stay in town? I wanted to play. I wanted to get a band and go out on the road because I'd had a band in Texas and I enjoyed playing. And he said, no, you just write songs. You stay here in Nashville and write for me and let me go out and do the touring.
Have the fun. Yeah, you stay here, give me the stuff, and I'll go have fun.
Farron, that is no fun.
You could have gotten rich, but it wouldn't have been fun.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Do you think the fact that you perform has been inhibiting at all in terms of songwriting? Or it makes it better? You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes sitting simply thinking about writing songs all the time might have been a different experience than being out there and performing and being on the go and living the good life.
When you're out there working 200 days a year, you really don't have a lot of time to write. And most of the writing that I've done, though, has been traveling, just me in the car. But once you get in a bus and there's a lot of people, you try to find a spot or a time to write. It's not that easy, you know. And in fact,
Not that easy to be good.
No, yeah, you can write something, but you know, to really get off somewhere and think of something original, it requires a little time and thought.
Is that the? I mean, you once said to me that you thought that Christopherson, in a sense, had changed songwriting. And he looks to you as one of the originals. You know?
Well, I think he was one of the first guys to add a little bit of his really intelligent type songs that started hitting country. Not that, you know, the other songs weren't intelligent, but I'm talking about songs like Help Me Make It Through the Night that has a little sexual connotations to it.
Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Sunday Morning Coming Down. It might mention a little alcohol and things. A lot of these things weren't exactly accepted in the country music trend earlier, but Chris brought a lot of these fresh, new ideas, modern-day thoughts to country music and put it in a way that a Rhodes Scholar would, you know. And so that was good. That was good for the music.
Did it influence you at all? Or did
his
you
songs
just keep
did
doing
a lot. Yeah, his songs influenced Sunday Morning Coming Down, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Just for the Good Times. Those are all great songs, and I'm sure...
And you sang some of them on an album.
I sang a whole album of Chris songs, so I was very much influenced by him and his writing.
Yeah. How would you characterize your writing, in a sense? I mean, what you do with a song?
Oh, I don't know. I guess somebody else would have to do that.
Better. Yeah.
I write.
What do you look for when you're writing a song?
For what I write off the top of my head. Whatever I'm thinking about,
So, all right, let's just take one, On the Road Again, which had become your anthem.
Sidney Pollack and I and Jerry Schatzberg were riding on an airplane.
Yeah. You reach up there in the back of one of those...
On the barf
bags, yeah, and say, Sidney, I think I got a song.
Yeah, and of course he thought it was probably the worst thing he ever heard in his life because I just kind of said, what do you think about this for some lyrics? On the road again, or I can't wait to get on the road again, blah, 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 blah. The life I love is on the road again. And he thought he thought I had smoked or drank way too much. And the altitude had got me.
Yeah, light air up there. The cabin pressure was down.
But when we got to the studio, and he said, well, what's the melody going to be?
This is Sidney Pollack?
Yeah.
The filmmaker?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we were just riding on the airplane, and we were talking about a song for the movie Honeysuckle Rose, and I said, well, what do you want it to be about? And he said, about being on the road. And I said, well, what about on the road again? On the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again. And he said, okay.
That's what you call the bus, too. The bus, don't you?
The Honeysuckle Rose, right?
Honeysuckle Rose is the name of the bus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You were on the road 200 days out of the year
Just
or
about,
more?
Yeah, at least.
Why do you do it?
I enjoy it.
You still love it?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and the crowds are still good.
Yeah.
The band is still together. We're still cooking pretty good.
Yeah, you are cooking good. But is there some sense of do you like home even better now, though? You know, at a certain point, you still love the road, but home even becomes more.
Well, yeah, I have the best of all the worlds, I think, because I have a great home, great family, some good kids, and all my other kids are doing well, and they come with me on the road when they can, and my daughter works with me now. She's on the road with me now, my oldest daughter.
Yeah, man.
So I really feel like that now things are working pretty good, both at home and out here, and it's really difficult to keep that going all your life.
Yeah, you bet. But how long can you keep it going?
Yeah.
It'll tell you at some point. It'll tell you. You know, as long as it goes good, as long as it grooves,
as long as it's fun,
feel it, as long as it's fun. Yeah. You've also been through tragedy, man. I mean, you know, you've had stuff that no parent should ever have happen to them. Right?
True story. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nobody should ever lose a son, you know, in a sense of tragedy as you did. And you said at the time, you just have to, you threw yourself into work, right?
Yeah, I went to Branson and did 2 shows a day there for 6 months.
Your son committed suicide, as I remember. Yeah. And you went to Branson just to forget yourself.
Well, I'd had the date booked, but you know, and of course I had every reason to cancel, but I didn't do it. I knew that I was going to need to work. Yeah, I had to work through all that. How
do you work through it? Just simply keep at it, and somehow at some point you come to peace with it and accept it and move on.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot. You never really, get over it. There's no way you can do that, but you find a way to live with it.
Yeah. Did you write any songs about it?
No.
Didn't want to, couldn't, too painful, too tough, too close, too all that?
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday? Yeah. Are you at a certain place in terms of what you want to write about and what you want to say, or does it just come to you?
I never have any plans about what I'm going to write or if I'm going to write, really. I found that if I sit down and try to write, I can come up with something. But if I wait until an idea comes, it'll be better.
Would you do anything different? I mean, this life has been good to you.
I don't think so. If I did anything different, then it would change where I'm at right now. Yeah. And I know I've made a lot of mistakes, but everybody does. And if I learn from them, that's good.
Yeah. And you have.
I hope so.
Yeah. The 4th of July picnic, that's gotten to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm. The first one we did was a long time ago, and 27 years, I think we figured out we did our first picnic. And we did one this year in Luckenbach, and just people getting together, all kind of people getting together out in the hot sun, listening to music. And the reason that I started doing them is I saw how successful the first Woodstock was. Yeah. And then right after the first Woodstock, they had the Dripping Springs reunion down in Texas, where some guys got together and promoted a big show, and it was out in the same area where the next year I went back in there in July. This was in March, and the weather was kind of bad. And I thought it was a good idea, but I wanted to do it in July. And I said, what better day than July 4th, because it's real hot, and
people in a celebratory mood.
People out there drinking a little beer and whatever, but if it's too hot, they don't want to fight. So
that's right.
So I went for the hot weather.
Drink the beer and listen. Yeah. And that's how many have you done now? Have you done one every year since then?
Well, it's 27 years, but we've done, in that 27 years, I think we skipped a couple of years, and we had a Farm Aid. And,
right. Farm Aid still goes, doesn't
Farm Aid, yeah, we're having Farm Aid again this year, by the way.
In Bristol, Virginia, or Bristol,
right,
Virginia?
September
like
10th, yeah.
What did you raise last year?
September 12th.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Over the years, we've raised around $14 million, I guess.
Wow. The IRS stuff is all taken care of?
Mm-hmm.
You don't still owe them anymore? I mean, it wasn't like a piecemeal thing. I mean, you came in and you made your deal.
Made our deal, and it was, everything was...
When you're at a time like that, you find out who your friends are, don't you?
You really do. And I had some.
You did,
I really had a lot of them.
And they said, Willie, I'll take care of this, don't you worry. Is that basically it was like that, wasn't it?
They did. All the farmers went down into the auction down there, and they bought up everything. And, my friend Darrell Royal and Jim Bob bought the golf course. Of course, the IRS come in and took it away from them because they didn't pay enough for it. So they decided, well, we'll find somebody else that'll...
Wait a minute, let me just get this straight. Was anybody bidding against Darrell?
Not really.
Yeah. In Texas, you wouldn't bid against Darrell Roy, would you?
Not really. And they got the golf course fairly reasonable, but the IRS decided it was too reasonable, so they took it away from them and sold it to an Iranian, which that didn't work out too well. And he got in IRS trouble, so he lost it. I got a guy in Missouri. Branson. I got a guy in Branson, Missouri to buy it, the guy that I was working for up there.
This golf course is feeling like an orphan about now.
Yeah, and so during the time I worked Branson, that 6 months, I pay off the guy that I owe, and I get my golf course back.
Now, what's it like to have your own course? I mean, you get tee time whenever you want it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about lighting 7,
really?
8, and 9 over there so we can play at night.
Anything that you have wanted to do in your life you haven't done?
No, I don't think so. I'd like to do some of them again.
One more time.
One more
At
time.
least one more time. There's a song right there. Yeah. One more time. The things I do. Yeah. I want to do a couple things about your movie career before we go here, though. Talk about this. Take a look at this. This is, before we go, because it's Singing with the Beach Boys, this is from Farm Aid 1996. Willie Nelson and the Beach Boys. Here it is.
On the sun, and it won't ever die.
I mean, to be on top, to sing a song like that, to caress those lines, and to have an audience out there. I mean, that's not a bad way to spend a life.
That's it. It doesn't get any better.
It doesn't get any better than that. Write a song, resonate with people out there. They're with you. That's pretty good.
That's it.
So the movies. We're going to see a clip from Wag the Dog. We mentioned Stagecoach, which was also a thing you did. You like the movie business, or is that just a lark?
No, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're doing something that it's got a guitar or a horse in it, then
yes, or a stagecoach.
Or a stagecoach.
Yeah. You've worked. How many have you done?
I don't know, not that many, but I just can't tell you.
All right. Roll tape. Here is Wag the Dog.
I'm a good old shoe, isn't it? So you hit that 1650. Well, I wish I had a woman who was half as good and true.
Tell me about that scene.
Well, Pop Staples, what a talent anyway, you know, and I was glad that they chose him to be in that movie. But he and I got to hang out together for a couple of days and sit around and pick and sing, and it was, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Warren Beatty said to me on a piece I did, he said one of the great things about celebrity was that you could call up anybody you wanted to on the phone, whoever you wanted to meet. One of the other great things about being an artist, is that it gives you somehow a ticket to either work with or to know other artists.
All
to get.
Yeah, all the good
Tell me
ones,
about it.
all the great ones. Well, you know, the fact that I got to work on one tour and one album with Waylon and John and Chris.
The Highwayman.
The Highwayman, yeah. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. Here.
The Wag the Dog with Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, and it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. The idea of being able to, in a sense, look around you and see so much talent and get a sense of working with it, you know. Take the people who have been on stage with you beyond the Highwayman.
Yeah, it's really sort of mind-boggling at times to, you know, you look around the room and you see all these great people around you, and then you realize that you're doing all right. Things are fine.
How did you feel? I was in the audience, Kennedy Center, 1998, December. Maybe it was taped a little bit earlier, but it was, I think it broadcasted finally in December. I looked up there, and you're up there. And it's you. Who else was there?
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby was on.
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple Ball. The President was sitting there. First Lady. It's Kennedy Center. Chris is coming out. Other people.
Tommy Lee's up there.
Tommy Lee Jones from Texas. Coming out to say something about you. You see a montage of your life, like you've never seen put together. I mean, they don't do it any better. They do it up there. It's America, you know. It's your peers. Pretty good feeling, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I mean, you say, good to be an American. Huh?
Yeah, it is. And I had my whole family there practically, all my kids.
Yeah.
And, got to take them through the White House. And,
had you been to the White House before? Oh, no, yeah, you've been during Jimmy Carter's time.
I've been there.
Up on the roof, as I remember.
And it's a nice view.
But to take your family out.
But I had my whole family there, and they met the president and everybody, and he was very nice, and took pictures and did great.
Yeah. I mean, it really is, though, a kind of, when you see your life there in front of your eyes, and the way they do it, it's a little bit humbling, too, isn't it?
Very, very, yeah. Very humbling.
Sense of what this journey's been about.
Yeah.
You know, and capturing.
Yeah, and you realize where you came from, you know, and how you got to where you are. It's pretty mind-boggling, really. Yeah. It's not something you want to sit around and think about.
Yeah, I know. But it's a journey
for
journey,
you,
you know, and you're still on that journey. Among whom do you say, without them, I couldn't have made it?
My grandparents, for sure.
They set you on this road.
They set me on the right road and gave me the right thoughts. And I feel like I owe it all to them.
You do?
Yeah. And the people I met along the way, I could name a lot of names, you know.
When you're down and when you're up, both.
Yeah.
Do you continue to learn, or are you just simply drawing on stuff you already have? You know,
I think I learn something every day.
Do you really? As an artist? You know?
Well, as an artist, as a
person,
I know I learn something.
And that feeds into the art.
Yeah, and hopefully I can, when I play tonight, I'll think of something new to do, you know.
You were amazing. You really are, my friend. It's great to have you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Willie Nelson. Coming up next, Lyle Lovett. Willie Nelson is in New York performing tonight at
Tramps.
Tramps. As he is on this show, he'll probably be performing. Kelly Willis from Texas is the opening. And Mr. Nelson's welcome on this program anytime. Back in a moment.
Hello, everybody. We're back. My next guest tonight, let's face it, this man is a sports legend. He holds many NBA records, including scoring 100 points in one game, which just boggles the mind. He also just finished this new book, Who's Running the Asylum? It is my pleasure to welcome Wilt, the Stilt Chamberlain. Let's get him out of here. I'm taller than everybody that comes on this show, then you've just thrown the whole curve off. How tall are you exactly?
5'11" and a half.
Oh,
no,
now
really,
I'm really depressed.
It's a big half. The last half is a big half.
Congratulations on the book coming out, Who's Running the Asylum. You have some, make some pretty interesting statements here. You talk about, in your prime, how you think you would have maybe stacked up against Shaquille O'Neal, or, you know.
Well,
what do you think would have happened, you versus Shaquille O'Neal today? Because people sometimes lump the two of you together.
Yeah, because we're both terrible foul shooters. But other than that, Shaquille and I is like comparing me with Clark Gable. In this case, I'm Clark Gable and he's me. No, he played.
I thought you were going to be self-effacing for a second, and then
no, nothing like
Screw
that.
that.
No. He plays an entirely different type of basketball game than I do. He uses his physicality, and he's a big, strong young man, and that works well in today's game. If he was facing me and other guys of my time, not so good. I mean, I'm a guy bench pressing around 600 pounds when I was at my best.
600 pounds?
Yeah, right. So,
I'm at 5'10". That's pretty good. I'll just work on it a little while. I'll be in your league, my friend.
Right. That's why you better be rather nice to me here, you know. And I'm a little surprised because I know you want to talk about a subject that is dear to my heart.
Well, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
You made a statement, and his statement's going to follow you around for a while, that you that you slept with 20,000 women. You made that statement. Now. And I gotta say, that's the kind of thing that you say, and then people bring it up later on. Especially
20,000
women.
People like you, right?
Exactly.
Right,
well, it's not just me. Have you seen? There's a clock in Times Square. Take a look at this thing.
Let me see.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
I didn't think that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah. Listen,
I'm curious. I want to know about my family share. That's the part I'm curious about.
Well, first of all, it was encounters. But, you know, I thought maybe one of the reasons you invited me on the show was to give me an award from the Board of Education. Because whenever people see me now, they go, 20,000. And let's see, he must have started when he was like 15, and he's now maybe 55. So let's see, 20,365 into 20,000. And, you know, and then...
So you're getting people thinking.
Not only that, I'm teaching them mathematics, which is really the whole story here, you understand?
I don't think that's going to be a word problem for kids. Wilt Chamberlain is with 10 women on a train headed east.
That's right. There you go. That's right. And when he gets to Missouri...
God.
Right.
All right, but
on the serious side of that, though, you know, just so women don't think me of being really whatever, the number was to make a statement about something, and it was not ever to sort of like belittle the ladies that I've known and make them just another number. In fact, in my book, they were a number, really great-looking numbers they were, you understand? But what I was trying to say in my book...
20,000.
20,000, right.
That's all I'm thinking as you're talking. I'm not hearing any of this.
There's nothing wrong with short romance.
You keep fading out of the number 20,000 comes in.
There's nothing wrong with short romance, believe me.
Short romance.
As long as it's a happy thing, going on, right, believe me. But the idea was to say that, you know, sex really rules the world. And that, you know, for men who think that having 1,000 different women is really cool, I have found out. But you have to first find out that having one woman 1,000 different times is what's really happening.
Oh. But how'd you...
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah. Now go ahead and go ahead.
So you had sex 1,000 times with each of the 20,000. That's what I'm thinking now. I'm really impressed now.
It takes stamina. It takes stamina. It takes stamina.
All right, well, let's talk about another number, all right?
Go
Let's talk
ahead.
about the number 100 points in one game, which I believe was versus the Knicks, 1962.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that right?
It's a long, long time
Was
ago.
there a-
Right, yeah, right.
Was there a point, 100 points in one game, was there a point where just the other team, like, left and made sandwiches on the bench? I mean,
Well, I really wish it was. Actually, they were really very embarrassed about the whole thing. And so they were mad at me, you know, and I was just out there trying to have fun.
did you start to, like, at 85 points, did you start to feel bad a little bit?
Absolutely,
Like,
and the people
like, I'll just try and miss this one, 100 points.
And I did that, I know, I did that. Then my mother scolded me when I got home. You should be ashamed of yourself. You know, it was not an easy night.
No,
Yeah,
no,
because I had a lot of
wouldn't think
friends
so.
on the Knicks.
Let's talk about, well, Michael Jordan. I'm
Michael.
curious, Michael Jordan, say we had a time machine here, and we could send Michael Jordan back to the Civil War. No, that's stupid. What if, that's just my own fantasy,
right,
you know?
right, okay.
What if we could send Michael Jordan back to playing basketball with you in your prime? All right? How do you think he would do in those days?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you said with me, you know, and not again me. Michael Jordan is one of those rare specimens that could have played at any particular time and is a gifted athlete who is using those gifts in basketball incredibly so. He has been the liaison between something that's not so good and making it great for all the rest. I think that almost every man in the NBA should give him 10% of their checks.
Now, what would his playing style, how would that have translated back then?
Well, his playing style is he's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys, would not have been very wise of Michael, you know, if he was playing during our time. So we would say, Michael, you know, as long as you do all those fancy things outside of where we are, that's fine. So it wouldn't have been good for Michael.
Really?
No.
You think he'd have been crushed, is what you're saying?
I don't think. I know he'd been crushed. Right, yeah,
Really?
right.
He just wouldn't have worked back then?
No, he would have came in there
What
once or
about
twice.
the 360-degree whip-around dunk? What would people have thought of that at the time?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because, you see, the mentality of the fan today is wonderful, and they've learned to accept showbiz.
Right.
And Michael is the epitome of showbiz, along with that great talent. During my time, if you did a 360, first of all, the opposition would take it as an insult that you would try to do something like that against them. The coach on your own team, if you weren't at least 90,000 points ahead, would bench you. And the fans would look at you like, well, he's the biggest hot dog in the world.
So you're saying Michael Jordan back then would have been on the bench the whole time?
Absolutely, you know, being considered a hot dog. Think about that. And that's the truth.
Really?
But now in Chicago, if he doesn't give you one of those 360s you're talking about,
Right.
even though their team is 90 points ahead,
Right.
they're looking for something spectacular.
The fans will turn on
right,
you.
you're right.
Back then it was more about teamwork, working together.
Absolutely.
What's happened to basketball?
Were you a basketball player?
Who, me? Well, I used to like to play basketball, but and I had the height and everything. I lacked what's called coordination. And it's true. And I found out later that you need that. I didn't wear. I was one of those guys who's like, to me, you know, and then, and I'd get it, and I fell a lot.
Yeah.
I wept openly sometimes during the game. It was just a messy thing.
Well, that could be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know.
Yeah, but still, I'd have given you a run for your money.
Yeah, I hear it. Okay.
All right, now we'll talk about a record. So this blew me away, but you're a competitive guy,
I think so.
And you, I didn't know this. This translates into your personal life. You like to drive cross country, and some people do. I've driven cross country a few times. I enjoy it, but you like to do it really fast. Is that the case?
Absolutely.
How fast are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about trying to average up in the 130s and go as high as 175, 180 miles an hour. You know, and that's a non-stop drive from like New York.
And this is in a Volkswagen Bug. That's the impressive
thing. I did a commercial for Volkswagen. It's with a little different engine, but you know.
But what are you talking about? How can you go that fast and not be constantly pulled over? What happens?
Well, you have to be clever. You have to use your eyes.
What do you mean clever? You're going 180 miles an hour. Everything's a blur. You're just birds are just piling up on your windshield.
A clever bird, a clever blur.
You like to. This I found kind of interesting, but you have a method for sort of like killing time.
Yeah.
When you see that you're 6 miles out of Denver and you're on the road going 150 miles an hour, what do you do to try and kill?
I hold my breath and see if I can hold my breath all the way to Denver. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's 8 or 9 miles away, you know, and so I work, you know, I got to work my way up. When I start in New York, I can only hold my breath for about like a minute. And by the time I'm halfway across the country, I can get up to almost 5.5 minutes. you know, and holding my breath.
Holding your breath. What I would love to see, I would love to see the policeman who pulls you over.
Right.
Going 125 miles an hour,
Right.
pulls you over, walks up,
Yeah.
looks into the windshield. It's Wilt Chamberlain there, and he goes, and then passes out. So that's just to amuse yourself.
Well, yeah, it is, and I sure wouldn't advise anyone to do it because it's one of the dumbest things that one could possibly do.
Thanks for adding that. They don't like people out there holding their breath to the point of passing out while they're driving a car 125 miles an hour.
And you definitely can pass out, you understand?
You like to water ski at great speeds.
Yeah, I tried for the quarter-mile water ski speed record at 126 miles an hour it was. You know, and
you can't water ski 125 miles an hour.
Well, I can, and I did. You gotta have big feet, man. You understand? You know, it helps out.
You didn't use skis?
No, I use skis. In fact, I don't even have big feet.
You did 125 miles. I would just love to see the old fisherman now sitting on the dock and.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
I think that was Wilt Chamberlain going by.
Well,
That's incredible.
We used to ski on the Sacramento River in California, and there was a highway right by the river. And the cars would be going 70, 80 miles an hour, and we would just run on past the cars. You know, and then we would slow up and see their expressions on their face because they couldn't believe it either.
Okay, well, there's that and plenty more in this book, Who's Running the Asylum, The Insane World of Sports Today. And it was great to meet you, finally.
Well,
very nice to have you on the program. Can you come back sometime?
I'm going to tell you something. I enjoy your program. I really watch it. So I want to say it to you. You are funny. You understand? You are funny. You really are.
Nice of you to say.
Right.
Finally, thank you.
Okay, thank
Someone who admits they've seen the show.
I've seen the show
He
a number
actually
of
watched
times.
the show. All right, Wilt Chamberlain, thank you very much. Mary Chapin Carpenter coming up. We'll be right back.